Yo, 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 Don Mafia. Welcome to yet a very special edition of the Don Mafia Report. We have a lot to talk about today. We really do. If you're watching this video right now, the majority of the Buffalo Bills have already ended up reporting to camp. And let's just put it this way. It's a super exciting time for all of Bills Mafia, rather. Number one, because we finally ended up seeing pictures of our most recently drafted rookies in their uniform. And might I tell you, as much as I appreciate the jersey swaps, nothing makes me feel better than seeing Zach Moss and Epinesa and all of our other rookies in those home blues, baby. It's really an exciting time. It really, really is. But I figured that we need to address the elephant in the room. While the majority of NFL athletes are reporting to their training camp, we have to ask the question, is the NFL truly ready? You look at the entire landscape of what sports are like right now, right? Best example is probably the NBA and the NHL. They essentially built a bubble. There's no contact from the outside world. The only people within their area is somebody affiliated within their respective league. And we've heard several reports of not a single soul tested positive for COVID in the NBA bubble. We just ended up hearing reports that not a single soul in the NHL bubble tested positive. So it sounds like the bubble concept is completely foolproof. And so then you turn your head over to Major League Baseball and the NFL. Right today, we ended up seeing that fiasco that the Miami Marlins had something like 8 players, like 4 or 5 coaches test positive for COVID-19. Essentially a outbreak amongst that entire squad. It not only affected the team that they played last week, but it also affected the team that was going to be visiting in the exact same visitor locker room as they were the past couple of days. It was a clusterfuck. Major League Baseball ended up canceling/postponing 2 games, and it leaves a lot of questions saying, is the NFL ready? Especially since they're essentially going to be adopting the exact same model as Major League Baseball, by not necessarily adopting a bubble, but doing business as usual as far as traveling, as far as going to stadiums across different states, etc., etc. So I figured that we should probably touch on that, especially since there's already been reports of a couple of NFL players that have reported to camp. Granted, only rookies and only quarterbacks have ended up reporting to camp at this point, and there's already been a couple of names that have been listed on the COVID-19/reserve lists. Specifically with the Buffalo Bills, there was news that legitimately just broke a couple of minutes ago. Cornerback Ike Brown, he was an undrafted free agent. He was placed on that list. It's not confirmed that he has COVID-19, but frankly, why the fuck else would he be placed on that list? We really don't know. Now, we really need to have a conversation, is this model going to work in the NFL the same way that it's working in Major League Baseball, right? So there's a couple of things that I think that are super notable and are a huge difference between Major League Baseball and are between the NFL. Number one, the time between games. For each and every single individual team, at the very least, they're looking at about 3 to 4 days without having to play. And that's specifically when it comes down to a team that played on Sunday night and then their next game is going to be Thursday night. For the majority of the season, they're just going to be playing Sunday to next Sunday by itself. So I have a feeling that the testing is going to be a bit more efficient for the NFL, just because they're going to be able to detect this a lot sooner, and they're going to be able to prevent an outbreak in which what happened within the Miami Marlins in Major League Baseball by itself. Now, there's so many people on Twitter that have been calling for, go on ahead and cancel the season, dude. It's absolutely over. I mean, if you guys really think that when it comes down to the MLB and the NFL, that there is not going to be a single instance where a couple of people at the same time have COVID-19 and are being placed on that specific list, then you're absolutely crazy. There is not going to be a perfect season where not a single player contracts COVID-19. That's just the world that we live in right now, ladies and gentlemen. The only thing that makes me hopeful for the season is the fact that the NFL has an opportunity to learn from the mistakes of Major League Baseball. Now, don't get me wrong. As much as I'm a huge advocate that I really think that the NFL needs to sort of adopt a bubble strategy, I know that it's not as realistic because when it comes to NFL organizations, they're like 10x the size of NBA organizations. Same thing with NHL. When it comes down to Major League Baseball and when it comes down to the NFL, a bubble just doesn't make sense. But that doesn't mean that I think that the NFL couldn't adopt some type of multiple bubble strategy. As much as I want to see the Buffalo Bills smack the shit out of the NFC West this year, I would be a huge advocate of going on ahead and having just two bubbles, one for the NFC and one for the AFC, and go on ahead and just play inter-conference challenges the entire year. So, I mean, this is definitely something that we need to talk about. Do I see the NFL season being canceled? I absolutely do not see it being canceled. I think our biggest concern is what players are actually going to opt out of the season. I said that there was going to be less than 5, and there's been quite a few already, so you can mark that down as a cold take. But I think that that's going to be the bigger concern for Buffalo Bills fans is, are there going to be any like key players that are going to want to like actually say, you know what, fuck this season, I'm done, I'm out. Realistically, Don Mafia, we live in some weird times right now, and once you realize the fact that the NFL can realistically not implement a successful bubble strategy based off of their entire organization numbers, then we need to be able to have faith and seek comfort in the fact that the games are so spread apart that we're going to be able to identify COVID-19 cases, and we're going to be able to make the isolation of them and be able to dip into the practice squad when necessary. Now, don't get me wrong, Major League Baseball definitely has a bigger pool to dip into. They have AAA, AA, and single A, while the NFL only has about 10 dudes in their practice squad. So, I mean, that's going to be an interesting conversation. But moral of the story is, guys, don't panic. The NFL is ready to go, and let's get excited for some more training camp content. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to yet another edition of the Don Mafia Report. Please do me a favor, leave your thoughts in the comments. I always love hearing your feedback, your thoughts. I'll do my best to respond to as many as I possibly can. And above all else, let's go Buffalo.